During the week, we explored the Mets as a possible suitor for Francisco Lindor. Another team that might be in the market is the Toronto Blue Jays. Sportsnet put together a package that Toronto could possibly propose to the Indians that could get them Francisco Lindor. This first part is a big deal for the Indians in the fact that they need an outfielder. They've needed an outfielder for the past few years. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. He's 27 years old. He's played 3 MLB seasons. Last year, he had a pretty good year. He hit for a 308 average, 11 home runs, and 33 RBIs in 57 games. Now, in a bigger sample size, not a full season sample size, but a bigger sample size in 2019, he hit for 277, had 20 home runs and 50 RBIs. Now, he's been done fairly well as an outfielder as far as his defense is concerned. He's only committed 1 error in his time with the Blue Jays. Now, if you look at the prospects, there's Jordan Grossens. He's 21 years old. Last year in Single-A Lansing, he hit 337, 2 home runs, and 13 RBIs, and he's the Blue Jays' 3rd-ranked prospect. He's a right-hander. Now, another guy who is fairly young in the Blue Jays organization, he's a shortstop, Castro. He's only 17 years old, so he's got a little bit of time before he's going to see the majors, but he's the Blue Jays' 17th-ranked prospect. Hasn't seen any time yet in the minors because of the COVID year this year, but the biggest praise with him has been his defense. Not sure about his bat yet, but that's something that yet to be seen. So, Les, D-Man, with Francisco Lindor, is this a possible trade that you explore for the Indians?
17th ranked guy in your franchise at 17 years old. I need somebody, D-Man, I need 4 guys, one of who can start today, one who has a chance to start, and then 2 top 5 prospects in an organization.
I have a world of respect for Brian and the research team, but it's not happening with Toronto. First of all, I don't want to deal with Mark Shapiro because he's a pain, and he'll be trying to somehow snooker me, and I'll be like, listen, we're trading you Frankie Lindor. I just don't see it with the Blue Jays under Shapiro and Ross Atkins, the former Indians brass, because I don't see them shelling out upwards of $350 million to acquire a shortstop. That's not how Mark Shapiro likes to do things. I don't think that's how Ross Atkins likes to do things, unless Toronto or the Buffalo Blue Jays ownership says to Shapiro, "Hey, go make a splash and trade for a guy that we can sign long term for huge dollars." But I don't see it. I don't see Toronto as a suitor. And by the way, the package coming back, I mean, I don't even wake up if I'm the Indians. That doesn't even get me up in the morning. Okay. I need at least 5 players out of that situation. I need 2 major leaguers. One that's a bona fide all-star, another one who's going to be an all-star like tomorrow. Plus, I need 3 out of your top 6 stud prospects, or I'm not even going to bother. The good news with the Indians, though, Les and Brian, is that the Mets, to me, should be the front runner to land Lindor, to acquire him. They have everything you need. They've got the billionaire owner who just paid almost $2.5 billion for the franchise. You got a guy in New York who wants to make a splash. He wants his team to be great. He wants to compete against the Yankees. Presumably, no stone unturned, no dollar left in the pocket. So to me, the Mets are the perfect suitor for the Cleveland Indians. The question is, will the Indians be able to get enough back from the New York Mets? And I think, for starters, when you're looking at the Mets, give me Michael Conforto. I love him as an outfielder. I know he's 27, but that's fine. I want a guy in his prime or entering his prime. I like Dominic Smith a lot as another guy to come back. But I'm looking at a minimum of 5 guys coming back from the Mets. But the good news here for the Indians and for Lindor is you've got a team in a huge market with a pile of cash that's willing to spend and presumably has the return the Indians will require.
Okay, you open up Pandora's box here because there's so much. I wish I had 20 minutes to talk about it. One of them is that there's another asset involved that could bring the deal together, and that is with the new owner. He's got to put a front office together. How about Chris Antonetti? Would the Indians listen Would the Indians allow Chris Antonetti to talk to the New York Mets? That's number one. Number two, is that part of a package that would bring Lindor? But number three, which I think is three and four, which I think is extremely important, is that I think Francisco Lindor's value has gone down a little bit. Maybe he did not have a good year last year by all reckoning, and he was not very good in the clutch. Now, he was still tremendous defensively, and he's still a guy I would love to keep here. However, it makes you wonder what the New York Mets are going to do. Would they go after him? But the other important thing is that I've seen potential trades all over the internet, and there's 5 top trades, 6, 8 top trades, whatever, up to 15 top trades, and he's not figured in any of them. Have we overrated him as a top flight, top 5 major league ball player?
No. And the reason I did this while you were talking, Les, we don't want the Mets to see and listen to what you just said, because as far as the Indians are concerned, Frankie Lindor played at an MVP level in 2020 and is the greatest shortstop, since who knows?
Until he signs the contract.
Yeah, I mean, the Indians have to promote him as great, and I think you could still sell him as great. You could just say, you know what, 2020 was an off year for a lot of guys, not just Lindor. Plenty of stars struggled, so it's not just him that had the issues. But I think he's very much an elite player, and you get him in a new atmosphere. You get him in in New York. I mean, you talk about a guy, Mr. Smile, on the biggest stage. I think this is a perfect landing spot for Frankie Lindor. Oh, by the way, the Mets have a need at shortstop.
And oh, by the way, we don't have to watch him come into town too often.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, he's not going to come back and get you unless he plays you in the World Series. And you know what, Les? I know it's out there, but I love where your head is about a package deal. Frankie Lindor and Chris Antonetti going to the Mets for this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. That would be kind of wild. But if I'm Chris Antonetti, I would be doing myself a disservice if I at least didn't take the call.
Sure.
Because the Mets are in need of some big wigs.
And, sometimes when you meet somebody, you just hand them a business card. In this case, you can just show them all the postseason hardware that the Indians got. This is more postseason hardware than I think they've ever had in any single year.
Yeah, and I get that, you play in the AL Central. Yeah, what have I said, Les? That if you're in the AL Central is where players go to win awards. The AL East or the AL West is where players go to win championships, except for the Royals in 2015. But, it doesn't diminish what Shane Bieber was able to accomplish, because he was a dominant pitcher and he deserved that award, and he was awesome, to say the least. But as far as Chris Antonetti's resume, if Antonetti were trying to sell himself to the Mets, he really wouldn't have to do much, because
you just show up at the meeting.
Himself. And you know what's attractive, I think, less to the big market teams, is when the small market guy had success, because they say, well, you know what? If he can win with a limited budget, imagine what he can do with a big budget.
Exactly.